Hello and welcome to the Ion I8 Championship. You are joining us live with approximately 9 minutes to go left of the qualifying stage. I am joined by me this week with Devil and my colleague, Project User. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to IA. Obviously, IA being a new series this season. Um, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know what to expect.
Certainly, and a lot of potential talent for Formula E in this driver pool, and it'll be interesting to see those who make it to the top.
Yeah, definitely. So currently we've got FF Devon on top. We saw him in top in FP1, just taking it away from Sims in the last 5 minutes. So he's going to be our expected pole position for today. Um, Sims is just marginally behind him by 8 tenths as FF Devon improves his first sector.
Yeah, I8 quality results right now looking very consistent with the results set in FP1 here for I8. Looking around the same lineup, when you take away the drivers that aren't signed as main drivers or drivers that are trying out the series but don't want to race.
Yeah, definitely.
So there is 11 seconds separating the entire 15 strong field. That is
Quite a spread. Oh, as Sims there gets the fastest sector one that we've seen so far of this qualifying session. And improves in sector 2. He seems to be on a push. Coming around in sector 3 now. As he's on that home straight, is he able to improve his time?
he does by 2 temps, but he must have lost quite a lot in that final sector to only improve 2 temps. So what happened to
Yeah, I
him?
wonder if there was perhaps a mistake there from him, which cost him that whole lap, which is a real shame. He could have taken the pole away from FF Devon, so
Has he go
going to be very
fastest in the
tight.
first sector again?
Yeah, he's really pulling some pace out at the start of this lap. Seems to be the end that is just costing him slightly more.
It seems to be a common trend where people are struggling more in the second and final sector. Specifically, the final sector is quite tricky with a really quick chicane. As much as it looks tight, it is quite fast. I drove it earlier in FB2 for Formula E, and you have to get that right in order to get the right time. As Sims goes fastest, 3 temps quicker than FF Devon.
Yeah, and I'm just going to mention there, he still didn't improve in that third sector. Yeah, still significantly improved his time massively, and is now about 3 tenths ahead of FF Devon in P2. So yeah, great lap from him there.
So he's gonna be proud of that lap, that's for sure.
Definitely. Let's cast our eyes a bit further back down the grid. Take a look at P4, which is Finelli. He's obviously driving for the McLaren team as he goes sideways out the exit of that corner, getting it just wrong, very easily done, and that's going to be ruining his hot lap. Meanwhile, looking back into P2, FF Devon improves in the second sector and just doesn't quite improve in the third sector, costing him there that lap.
Yeah, it seems to be unable to improve. Still 5 minutes left in this session, so which drivers are going to be improving their lap times? All of them will want to be, but how many can?
And notably, if we look down to the back of the grid, we've got far greater spread than we've seen in some of the other series. Um, Obviously, F1 often they're separated by mainly just maybe 1 second, 2 seconds separates that whole grid. Currently, we've got a massive, by looks to be 9 seconds. Sorry, beg pardon, 11-second difference roughly between P1 and P17 there, which is the driver of Shady, also being a team owner. So yeah, really vast difference, and obviously that's going to be commonly seen in these junior series, where there isn't as much skill as there is, and it's all about kind of developing that ability.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of these drivers are connected to certain Formula E teams who have looked to sign them as drivers for their team, but they want them to be a bit more improved before they put them into their real roster.
Yeah, definitely a kind of testing ground for them. Just notably, we've had a new contender. Dark has come into P3. That's their podium position with a lap time of 45.115. So he's just a margin behind FF7, another tight contender for that top three. And also, to add to that top, random new person also entered in P4. He's quite a way behind that top three. And I think we may see in this race now a big gap between those front three runners and the rest of the cars behind them.
Yeah, it's Nicholas, who was in P4, I believe, has now gone down to P6, so he must be unable to improve his lap.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Still got 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining of this session now.
Seems like most of the drivers are struggling a lot to get the S's right at the second portion of the circuit. Are really struggling to get these really precise lines, which is no surprise for a junior series, but it really, really needs to be nailed down by these drivers in order to
Yeah.
do well.
In fact,
One thing
FF Devon's now crossing the line. Project, do you want to take us for a lap here?
certainly, so you go into turn one, it's a very, very tight turn. You have to get it almost perfect. Then the next turns are fairly simple, no curb on the inside, take as wide as a line as you can, just take as much speed as you can through. Through the roundabout now, you really have to huck up this line to get it perfect, otherwise your lap is in ruins. The S section is incredibly difficult for most drivers. You have to get very close to the walls, and taking those risks, you will spin if you hit it just slightly, with this very, very tight chicane following it, which is very hard to get right. 1, 2, 3 final corners, and that's the end of the lap. It's fairly simple from there on, it's just a straight.
Yeah, so Diriyah, an interesting track, definitely testing the driver's abilities, unlike some others, but also notably being quite short.
Yes, Diriyah, one of the shortest tracks on the Formula E calendar. I'm sure, even though it's short, it will still give us some interesting racing between these drivers.
As we've now got 30 seconds remaining of this qualifying session. Looks like Sims has pole position at this time. FF Devon now going on to a new lap. We'll see if he can improve at all. This would likely be his last shot. And we wait for him to cross the Sector 1. He does improve in Sector 1. Looks like he's on a flying lap currently. This could be very
Very
for
nice lines through the S sector. And it's very clean by FF Devon throughout the entire lap. The last corner now is going to be very challenging. It's all on this corner to get right, and he gets it fairly well. And will he improve his lap time and go quickest?
Ooh.
No! He improves by about a tenth with going purple in the second sector. That's unfortunate for him.
That's another driver we've seen there who's just isn't able to get it right in that third sector. Can improve quite happily in those front two. That third one, they just can't quite get right. Sims comes into the pits now. Looks like our top lineup is going to be pretty secured now. Most drivers either in the pits or on a hot lap where they're not improving sectors.
And yeah, that seems to be the session over. No one looks like they can improve, so it seems to be Sims on pole for our sprint race.
Yeah, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the track. So hello and welcome to the Iron Electric series, the i8 series. And we are coming live directly from the Diriyah Grand Prix, or ePrix. And let's take a look at the track that we have here with all the different corners. So Diriyah is an 11-turn lap with an average lap time on the i8 cars of 47 seconds, which we saw from FP1, obviously qualifying being slightly faster. The lap begins with a twisty minor chicane into markers turned marker 2, marker 3 and marker 4, followed by a sharp left-hander flicking from left to right, and marker 6. Marker 7 through to 13 is made of many tight twists and chicanes, so you can see it's going to be a very challenging track for all of the drivers. Let's take a look as they're now lining up back on the grid. Many of them gone into the pits. And Project, give us your rundown. Who do you think is gonna, obviously with the current qualifying results, come out on top today and score the most points, not only for themselves but for their team?
It would be hypocritical to say that the pole sitter will always win, but for most tracks it certainly seemed to be that way, but let's hope it isn't. Well, let's hope it is an interesting race.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like the cars are now heading off to the grid.
So as the driver's coming to the grid now, you can see Robotech Masterful just swerving around. I don't see the point in doing that, but maybe he thinks that it's a good omen or something, because all he's doing is ruining his tires.
Yep, I mean, traditions are traditions, as we see them lining up on that grid now. Looks like we've still got some drivers still in the pits, so they'll be making their way out onto the track at some stage. Currently following Sims now as he makes his way to their track. On his outlap, just trying to get that car ready.
It's let's not say, but it looks like for Sims the outlap is very tricky.
Yeah, not a hopeful sign of the race to come, how we say.
Oh, he's hitting the walls left, right, and center. It's a good job there's no damage in i8.
Yeah, otherwise he would be very very done for as he takes his position on pole.
And overruns his grid slot.
There's FF Devon lining up just beside him. He's got that outside line. Sim's got that inside line in the run into turn 1. We'll see if that plays any advantage or disadvantage to the driver. For the tight race, it's just going to be ahead of us now.
Sims is complaining about not being able to see the lights.
So there it is, the announcement of the structure, sprint and feature race, which we will see today. And we see them head off for that formation lap.
And Sims has he's got the fastest lap. I'm not sure how that works out, but he has the fastest lap.
Yeah, must have been the fastest outlap there as they make their way around this track. Shows a lot of nerves between these drivers. The first we've ever seen IA cars racing. As I said earlier, really not sure what to expect, and it's a proving ground for those drivers who really want to make it into the Formula E, the main electric league.
So, for I8, we have a sprint race and a feature race. The rules are mostly the same as the other feeder series you will see in Ion. The feature race being a no collide longer race than the sprint race, and the sprint race being a shorter but collide on race. So, how many of these drivers are going to be able to cope with the blue flags and be just getting out of the way?
Yeah, especially on a track like this where you've got the tight walls either side of you and, you know, lots of tight corners. It's going to be interesting for sure as the cars are now rejoining the grid and we wait for the light sequence to begin the sprint race here at Diriyah.
It is going to show which of the drivers is the most patient when passing other drivers. As one thing you do not want in a driver, and I must say so myself, and teachings that I've learned myself is you have to be patient. Even when it's no collide, you have to be patient with other drivers, or you can just ruin your race for no reason.
Yeah, definitely. As we wait for those lights to begin. Seems like we're still going to need a jump in and jump out from the drivers so that their names are registered on that leaderboard. You can tell there's a lot of tension between the drivers currently.
It'll be interesting to see what happens after the race between these drivers. A lot of them get quite heated after sprint races. I've seen F2 drivers having arguments with one another after the race just because one hits them, even in the slightest.
Yeah, and a lot of it's down to personal opinion as we see the drivers, there we go, as predicted, jumping in, jumping back out, so that their names register on that leaderboard. And we can get ready for the beginning of the sequence. Seems like there may be a minor issue there with the leaderboards. They're asking the drivers to jump back in and jump back out again. Sure, this isn't playing in hand to any of the drivers' nerves right now.
Yes, I remember one Formula E race we jumped out about 3 times before everyone had got onto the leaderboard.
Yeah, definitely builds up the tension, that's for sure.
You'll be surprised how short some of these drivers' tempers are with one another.
Yeah, I imagine they're not particularly patient either, raring to go for this sprint race.
I'm sure that every single driver will have one common goal, which will be to win the race. There we go then, the
Yeah.
watch the lights has been read out by the race director.
Oh, there it is. And away they go now for the beginning of the sprint race. Looks like Sim's got a great lead in turn one, neck and neck with FF Devon as they come out of that exit onto the short straight. Getting a nice turn in as you see the cars running around that edge, evenly spread out. The two leaders fighting it out as Sim seems to clip the wall there. May be intentional, may not be. Give him slight advantage over FF Devon, who's side by side with him. Continuing through that twisty second sector.
If you look back through the field, we have one driver who seems to be struggling a bit too much.
And there they come out there.
I
Onto the home straight as we see them cross the line, and then we'll get the update between the gap difference. FF Devon currently taking the lead. Sims following behind him, following by Dark. The 3 order which we had in qualifying, except from FF Devon, has now taken that lead from Sims, the man who started on pole position. These 3 battling it out at the front, neck and neck.
So, 0.8 seconds between Sims and FF Devon. That means that FF Devon has pulled out about a second on Sims, as it becomes even more. So Sims, something's happening with Sims. Either he's had a lapse in his concentration, or he's just genuinely struggling.
Yeah, not quite sure. Something that will need to be discussed with the team, as FF Devon looks to be taking the fastest lap along with the lead. He's on 2 purple sectors, and he does so. Now a gap of 1.8 seconds to Sims, as Dark is 2.2 seconds behind him.
Yep, 2 purple sectors turned into 3, although it does seem as if Superfist 27, someone who we didn't really see in qualifying, has gone purple in the first sector on the last lap and is up into P4 as Random goes quickest in the first sector.
Yeah, very peculiar. We haven't really seen much of either of those drivers, so to pull out a pace like that, whether it's their skill or a lack of perfection from the drivers at the start, we will see. Now the gap staying at 1.8 between the top 2. Dark only 1/10 behind Sims, so good battle going there for P2.
What the drivers we were just on about seem to be doing is very reminiscent of what I did in F1 yesterday. Let's just hope they don't crash out.
And there you see Dark and Sims both setting a purple sector 1. Only 2 attempts separating the 2 drivers. You see them neck and neck going through those corners. It's going to be really tight for this battle of the 2nd position on podium, as FF Devon now takes purple in sector 2. Apologies. And we see them coming down the home straight. It appears FF Devon may have made some kind of issue, because the 2nd and 3rd drivers are right on his tail. Gap there, as we see, only 5/10. So perhaps... Oh, he has made a decision. Oh, major error there from him, as he loses the position, falling back down into 3rd. Just couldn't quite get that exit right. Whether he broke too late or took too much speed into it, just didn't quite get it right, and he falls back down into 3rd, as Sims takes the lead of the current sprint race. Sims now on 2 green sectors. Unlikely to take the fastest lap, which is currently held by the man right behind him, 1.3 seconds behind. Sims pulling out some real pace now. Incredibly significant. There he crosses the line. Oh, coming onto the straight. Coming through those first few corners, 1.75 seconds separate him and FF Devon behind. FF Devon managing to catch up with Dark, who was previously in P2, now is still in P2, and it appears FF Devon may have made a mistake again, because he was right on him, and he's now 8/10 behind him. So consistency may be an issue for the driver, but he's definitely got the pace as started in P2, and we've seen some brilliant pace he pulled out, initially having the fastest lap.
It looks as if FF Devon's confidence is certainly being knocked by his mistakes.
And who was that spinning round and round? Was that Dark?
It was one of the Cognizants.
I believe it was. That was Dark spinning round and round on the exit of that corner. Now that's really going to cost him. Yeah, as we see the cross line, nearly 7 seconds behind the leader of Sims. FF Devon, surprisingly, already have catched up to Sims. Only 7/10 behind him as we see them battling it out into that first corner. It appears FF Devon... Yes, he has! He's taken the lead already. That's a great comeback from him, from initially not quite getting the exit of turn 1 right, losing position, all the way dropping down into P3.
Oh my! There's been a big accident where one of the drivers has been sent into the pit lane. It's a crate car of Accurus 10. He's been stuck and he's been put into the pit lane.
That is very unfortunate. Maybe his race over unless he's able to recover it here. He should be able to.
I believe he's gone into the podium area.
Take a look back now. FF Devon still with that lead. Oh, and it looks, as I say that, updated gap. He's now behind Sims. Again, apparently made another error. He's 2.7 seconds behind Sims. See if he can make that up. Now down to 1.7, pulling out some real pace. Them two really taking it out as Sims makes an error. Believe he's clipped that wall there. He's made a major error. We'll see if that costs him the lead or not. Dark 13 seconds behind the front two. The updated as they cross the line. FF Devon just unable to take the lead. 7 tenths behind Sims. Really tight between the two. Dark only able to manage 13 seconds behind those front two. And now Super Fist is clawing up right behind him.
So that's unfortunate for Acurus. His race has been ruined. He seems to have been taken out by a Pro Drive.
That is unfortunate. Oh my, and I think FF Devon's made another error there. He drops down to 7.7. Dark taking P2. He's made some significant time up. He's now only 6.5 seconds behind Sims. So that top three order really changing about. Not consistent at all.
The biggest issue amongst these newer or less experienced drivers will definitely be consistency. As more and more Sims getting hit by the Cognizant. That's Dark YZ92 hitting Sims, who's fell back a lot.
Spinning round and round again. That's going to cost him significant time. Consistency, as you say, is a major issue with some of these front leaders. They've got the pace, but they can't just quite keep it.
Certainly, you can go as fast as you want for all you like, but it's how fast you can go and keep at that pace.
Pasteurize back a bit down the grid in P8. Currently, Tingers holding onto position. He's driving that Dolphin electric racing car, one of the new drivers, part of the new series this season.
And he was one of the drivers who was really struggling at the start of this race.
And look at that again. I mean, I've said it about 100 times now. Dark falling back down to P6. He's now 6 seconds behind the leaders, and that's significant time he's lost. And we've had a change in the leadership. Super Fist has managed to take the lead. It seems like there's been major inconsistency. Oh, and that's a Turon spinning round and round on its roof. Was that FF Devon? It was. Major collision there. FF Devon was upside down. That's Dark upside down. That's a McLaren getting involved.
This is... I don't know what to say. That means that Superfist in the Lolex has taken the lead of this race.
Yeah.
Sims in second, and FF Devon is catching up very quickly to Sims.
That was a major shoot. In fact, let's take a look at that replay again. I'm not sure what exactly happened. Some kind of issue. Let's take a look. So there we cut to them. That's the Lolix car, and Turon is upside down, flipping round and round. The Lolix car manages to get away, and then the McLaren gets involved. It's almost like they have a chassis displacement on one of the wheels. Let's take another look at 50%, because I'm not sure how they quite got out of the way.
It doesn't seem as if FF Devon was the one that stayed there. It seems as if Dark, or one of the It seems as
There
if
it
the
is. Ah,
McLaren
look
made
at
the
that. The
same
Lollock
mistake.
seems to go into the rear of the Tron. The Tron's then upside down, clips off that left wall, comes back across the track. That McLaren comes through, collides with it again, and then it's just causing a chain reaction there. As
Yeah, you
yeah,
can
the
see the
camera moves
McLaren.
back.
You see the McLaren in the back of their shot making either a similar or the same mistake as FF Devon, and that seems to be how the drivers have got tangled together, and that's how FF Devon has made the mistake. But a
Yeah.
lot of these drivers have been very close. As we had the the Dolphin Electric car, which was quite high up, is now falling back a little.
That's a shame for his team there. Obviously, D-Pod being the team owner of that. We'll see if we can get a little word with him later, towards the end of this race. We're now following
So,
FF Devon in P2. He's 10 seconds behind the leader of Superfist, now
so
9.6.
looking at it, it seems as if FF Devon had flipped on the curb. And then one of the McLarens also. Oh, we've got a massive pile-up between Titanic, not Accurate, Superfist, and Accurate. But Superfist is stuck. Our leader is stuck with one of the back markers. Oh
He
no.
is really not going to be happy about that. Speaking to the race directors as soon as he can. Backmarker has cost him arguably his race here as FF Devon takes that lead. Sims moving ahead of him. Dark also moving ahead of him. Nicholas also moving ahead of him. Offscan, he's falling back and back all the way down to P6.
Oh, there's a huge chain reaction between these drivers. One gets hit and then it's just gone all the way through the track.
Let's follow FF Devon now, who's currently in the lead. He's just had a purple sector too. That's the section where we saw him make the error before, clipping on that curb, causing that massive chain reaction. He's got a second gap to Sims behind him. Let's see what it's updated as they cross the line. With 5 laps to go, he says purple sector 3 as well is unable to improve in this time. He's 1.166 seconds ahead of Sims behind him, but as we know, that is very subject to change.
Sims getting taken out by the crate of Accurate. Sims will have a lot to say, and most of the leaders, in fact, will have a lot to say about these back markers today.
Yeah, definitely seems like they to be causing an issue, especially on a tight circuit like this, where you've got barriers either side, no kind of runoffs, and it's not particularly wide track either. It's definitely very hard to get past those back markers, and some of them, in fact, don't even have engineers to tell them cars which they need to give positions to.
So we just had another collision between Officer Cap and Nicholas in the Pro Drive, and well, this is sort of resemblant of the first ever GT3 race, in my opinion, where the drivers were struggling to get along with each other, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. As Sims now 5.2 seconds behind our leader. It's currently FF Devon. Let's see, is it updated as he crosses the line? Down to 3.85. Super following behind in a fashion of 7.15. And Dark with the fastest lap, 8.3 seconds.
So FF Devon stuck behind the fleet of Puffy Bad Martin. Are these bad tactics by fleet just to get Sims to catch up to FF Devon, or is this just the fleet of Puffy Bad Martin not
Oh,
getting out of
look
the
at
way?
that massive collision there. I'm not sure whether that was with Sims or the back marker of the fleet car. We'll see as they cross sector 1 and the updated.
Sims
But that
has
was
been hit. He's gone off into the runoff, and he is very far behind now. He's fallen back to about P6, maybe P7 even.
definitely some kind of
Oh, and he hits
collision.
Dark.
Now that is a
There's a
shame.
lot
I'm sure that's
between these
very
drivers.
frustrating for him. There's one thing, a car crashing. A second thing is when they are unable to re-enter that track safely and then cost arguably the race of other drivers.
A lot of these drivers are getting their races ruined by back markers, and it would be rude to say that they don't know how to drive, but it certainly seems that way.
Oh, look at that! That's a Tyrone going round and round. Superfist, has he collided with FF Devon? He has. As FF Devon goes up, he hits again. FF Devon colliding with a fleet again. I believe that may have been Sims trying to overtake him. And just when he didn't want it, FF Devon is falling down that order. He's held this lead for the longest out of any drivers now, but he's falling down and down and down.
This is certainly very resemblant of a carnival game of bomber cards. These drivers are just hitting each other to get whatever advantage they can, as Sims also made a mistake to fall behind FF Devon, so the fall from grace for both of these drivers, who were both 1-2 at one point of the race, are now 3-4.
Yeah, as we go on to our penultimate lap, let's have a look at our current leader, Super Fist. He currently has a gap to the car behind him of 6.1 seconds, which is Dark.
And Nicholas made a bit of a mistake by the looks of it, but doesn't seem to affect his race. Down in P9. Let's have a look through the field if there are any close battles going on. Puffy Badmouth and Nicholas, that's not really going on anymore. It doesn't seem as if there's too many battles going on through the pack at the moment.
As we now go on to our final lap, following the leader, which is Superfixed of that Lolix car.
Superfist is now caught up to the same back marker, which caused issues between FF Devon and Sins in the first place.
Ooh,
And
barely
it's a crash. Oh, will Dark be able to avoid that fleet? Yes. But will he be able to avoid the cars in front of him? No, he does hit the Pro Drive. Oh, there's a car park on the main straight. Drivers struggling to get around the struggling Petronas Red Bull of Robotech Master LOL.
The Red Bull unfortunately causing a bit of a rolling roadblock as we go with our leader as he comes across the line to win the sprint race here at Diriyah. Great performance from him, slamming into the barrier. Super Fist of the Lolix car comes home to take the lead. Let's look back for second place as Sims is on a push. Is he able to get the position? He is not, as Dark takes it. Sims follows shortly behind. And it looks like FF Devon is then going to come home to take P4. That rounds off our podium of Super Fist, followed by Dark, followed by Simsoman. And oh, I beg your pardon, it seems like Officer Cap has managed to take the position from FF Devon on the line there. So FF Devon falls down to P5.
And we have a celebratory car park down at Zone 1, as is tradition with these Collide races.
Yeah, definitely. As we wait now to get set up for the feature race, the one obviously scoring more points but does last longer.
Now, there is no strategy in i8, but what does matter is the consistency of the drivers, and this is why many drivers are in this position, because they need to prove themselves as consistent and non-reliant on strategy.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite contrasting actually to F2 how we have it at the moment. There being good comparisons of each other, comparing the electric to non-electric side of Ion. But yeah, interesting to see that it's more going to be released on the driver skill. Not that F2 isn't, but F2's got the introduction now of compounds, and we always have that tire wear, which needs to be considered. Obviously, I8 that not being significant or relevant.
On that point, in F2, the drivers, it shows their skill to be able to manage the tires as well. But here, it's all about their pure racing skill. It doesn't matter about their environmental factors or anything.
Yeah, so definitely can just purely focus on that driving and nothing other than the driving.
So, there's the message that we'll be gridding up for the feature race. soon, but it doesn't seem to be any time now.
And we should mention, obviously, the introduction of the reverse grid system. I believe with the top 10 being reversed around for that feature race, meaning that obviously the driver on top getting less of a benefit and those down to the bottom of the points get the position for the feature pole.
It seems as if a prevailing theme for Turin in the feeder series is they seem to do well, but the pace isn't there when it matters. No offense to you.
None taken, none taken. It's definitely one thing having the raw skill, but it's another turning up and delivering it on the day. And yeah, that's it's 50%, as I say, having the ability, and it's another 50% applying it to the race. Very unfortunate for FF Devon. To score higher too, only able to get P5, but he's still got the feature race now where he can get more points, and no collisions or any back markers to worry about. So we may see a bit more of raw pace.
Yes, that's mainly the point of the sprint races, to prove the driver's ability to drive with other drivers and not make mistakes, but for most of them it doesn't seem to be that way.
Yeah, I
And
definitely
the
think
feature race. The feature race is very much what it says. One thing is the feature, the skills, and the talents of the drivers, but I'm sure that's not the real meaning of why we chose those names.
Yeah, definitely. Back markers costing quite a few positions for some drivers. Let us know what you thought about that sprint race in the chat. We'll make sure to take a look at some of you, see what you thought about the collisions, and if it costed anyone any kind of positions in that race.
I saw one earlier where it says, without the back markers and without the collisions, it would be FF Devon in P1.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the opinions. It was a bit of a ramming. Yeah, Dylan Jacob saying Sims getting payback on Devon. I did notice there's a little bit of rivalry going on between the two, a bit of collisions, and arguable possible introduction of using their other driver to slow him down, but that's down to interpretation.
You could compare it to the Formula 1 race in Season 3 at Canada, where the McLaren slowed down the leading Ferrari in order for the other McLaren to take the lead of the race.
Yeah, definitely arguably illegal and ethically wrong or morally wrong tactic, but nevertheless still done by some drivers.
Or the driver that was in question was genuinely unaware of their surroundings.
That is also a possibility with some of the new experience and lack of experience by some of the drivers. So now we wait for the feature race to begin. Sprint 1 obviously just finishing, and the feature 1 will be brought to you shortly.
So, like we said, top 10 have been reversed. That means Superfist, our sprint race winner, will be in P10, and Puffy Badmartin, who's in P10, will be starting from pole in the fleet car.
Yeah, so that's going to give him as much of an advantage as he can to try and get that win, try and perform well, and try and get as many points as we mentioned earlier. More points being scored in the feature race than there are in the sprint race, and more drivers scoring points in the feature races than the sprint races. We still see some cars lining up. Beautiful handbrake turn from the fleet vehicle.
That was clean. I remember the older leagues in Roblox were that was definitely the main way you wanted to get into the grid slot. And if you could nail it perfectly to get into your grid slot, you felt so good.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know what you thought of that sprint race as we are waiting for the cars to get ready for the feature race. Just a slight short delay now.
So it seems that Superfist, our previous race winner, has parked up at the back of the grid. He doesn't seem to understand the top 10 reverse grid concept.
Can see the can see the slight lack of experience. I mean, nothing wrong with that. New to the series.
So the race director begins to prepare for the start of our feature race.
Yeah, just a short delay now as the leaderboard is being reset.
So 40 laps for our feature race, double the length of the sprint race, hopefully double the racing.
And there they begin as they go out on their outlap. Feature I've already taken a little bit too much curve, nearly tipping sideways. So we're watching Sims follow round. Very, very slow pace. The drivers make their way through these tight and twisty corners.
The main learnings for a lot of the Formula E drivers of last season was you do not want to be caught on those curbs, otherwise it probably will send you spinning.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and as you say that, I believe a Dolphin electric car there, which is upside down in its roof. Not something you want to see, especially only on the formation lap. But hey ho.
It should give us an idea of what's to come.
Better that than do it in the race and lose positions, I suppose.
Yep, gotta get it out of your system before the race starts.
And they now rejoin on the grid. Project, you want to take us through the start of the feature race today?
I shall. As we are waiting for the lights at the front of the grid to come on. I hear some drivers revving their engines already. The lights aren't even on.
Oh, there is the jump in, jump out. Drivers jumping back in and jumping out just to reset that leaderboard. So we wait for the light sequence to begin. The Diriyah I8 feature race.
So, there's the green flag, which is confirmation that our race is about to go ahead. And there it is, watch the lights as our first couple of lights come on. There's the fifth. After a very long wait, the lights are out. It's a good start by the Pro Drive behind Puffy Bad Martin, taking the lead going into turn 1, followed by the FF Devon and Sims very high up into the lead as the Pro Drive goes straight on into the corner there. It's hard to see where everyone else is, but we'll be able to get a better perspective as soon as the drivers begin to appear on the leaderboard.
Yeah, as they begin to spread themselves out. Looks like Sims has already made his way up to the lead. So that starting grid, without the collision, doesn't seem to have much of an impact over them, other than they start a few 10 meters behind other drivers. And that also looks like the Lolix driver of Superfist is out there in front. Leaderboard currently saying Well, obviously we're not aware as they cross that line for the sector, saying Dark is currently in the lead. So one of the drivers we saw performing very well in that sprint race is leading out in front.
And there's a car in the wall. I'm not sure who that
Oh
was.
no! That's Dark who's taking too much of that inside curb as he slows down, losing loads and loads of time, falling back and back behind those two Dolphin electric cars. He needs to be in that lower 10 as Sims is now our temporary leader of the feature race.
Dark and Accurate were drawn for the P8 position on the first sector line, but that has certainly changed now. Let's have a look at the front of the field. It's a solid lead by Sims, trailed by Superfist and FF Devon, who seem to be running a lot cleaner races than they were running for the sprint race, but there's still a long time to go in this race, so I'm sure that might change.
Yeah, Sims still maintaining that. FF Devon working his way up to the top of that leaderboard. Sims currently holding the fastest lap, so he's going to be getting that extra point. All that he needs for that championship standing and team standing.
It's still very close between Superfist and FF Devon. Neither driver is going to yield their position. They are going to fight for every inch of this racetrack. Has Sims made a mistake? Because FF Devon seems to be a lot closer this time round.
Yeah, FF Devon following him very tightly. So they're coming around those first few corners.
Sims taking a very healthy chunk out of the wall in turn 4 there.
Just got to be so careful in that second, third sector with those tight, winding corners. So easy to not get it quite right, clip one of those walls and send your car spinning as both Sims and Devon do there. Both of them clipping the wall, both of them losing time, and that allows Superfist to catch up.
And Dark has made some inways taking a free temp chunk from the leader, getting closer as I say that, hitting the wall going into turn 2. It's still very close for P5 all the way down to P10, all engaged with combat for each other.
Yeah, we cast our eyes down to the points cutoff, which is P10. Oh god, apologies, a little bit of lag there. If we cast our eyes down to P10, we've got Officer Cap there driving, trying to maintain into that position. That's the cutoff of where points are given or are not given.
Certainly being inside that top 10, even for one of your first races, is going to be a great feeling, but we'll see if it lasts for these drivers, whether they're going to make big mistakes that cost them a lot, or are they going to keep it clean and maybe move a lot further up than they currently are.
Yeah, so looks like the lead has stayed reasonably the same. FF Devon still 2.6 seconds behind the leader.
Yep. They seem to be pretty stagnant, or as you say, staggered gaps between the top 4. Seems almost perfect between the top 3. I say that as Dark starts to close in on Superfist, looking to take that podium position away from him in the Cognizant. The Lolex is trying his hardest not to get overtaken by this Cognizant. It's a great battle to watch between these two drivers.
Yeah, following him, almost replicating his line through that tight, twisty section. Some great skill there.
As Dark gets the better exit through the penultimate corner, but hits the wall, takes a lot more curb. Will Superfist get the better run down the straight? This is very close racing between these two drivers.
Yeah, let's cast our eyes back to the front of the grid now, where Sims has maintained that lead. FF Devon is just behind him, Correction.
3 seconds.
2.804 seconds separate the two. FF Devon just having a purple third sector.
Yeah, FF Devon closing in on Sims after making a mistake in the first corner, closed in by 3/10 of a second. Will he keep this consistency as he hits the wall going into this final turn?
Take a look at our leader now, Sims. Gap of 1.8 seconds to the car behind. He's driving that fleet car, getting as many points possible as he can.
Oh, I totally missed it. Dark makes the move for the third podium position, the third and final podium position, as Superfist seems to drop back a lot, closer towards Nicholas in P5.
Yeah, Super now staying in green sector 1 as he's on a push. He's about 6 seconds behind Dark in front of him. And was that a Tyrrell stopped? Was that the Tyrrell of FF Devon?
It was not, it was the Teutonic.
Yeah, the other one of Teutonic is good down in P15. He's unable to get any points at this stage, so FF Devon continuing as he is in P2. Trying to decrease that gap to Sims in front. Currently 2.6 seconds.
FF Devon seems to be under the pressure of being in P2 and making a lot more mistakes than he was at the start of this race. It's a lot earlier than you would expect him to feel the pressure of being in P2.
Yeah, Dark now improving on his first sector. He is driving that 97.
Oh, Shady in P17 has flipped on the curbs, it seems.
He's being that, obviously, that second driver for the team. And let's take a look at P10 now. Bit of a change. Father Ewok, a notorious figure in the Ion community, driving for that Dolphin Electric team owned by the owner of D-Pod. He's on the boundary for the points at this stage.
It'll be certainly a good result if the team can get points in both of these races, but 30 laps still to go. But who's your favorite to win this race at the moment, Despicable?
Well, obviously, my opinion is going to be swayed, but I think FF Devon's going to be able to take the lead. He's now got that gap down to 1 second to Sims. If he's able to maintain that consistency, avoid as many errors as possible, try to keep it to a minimum, and just maintain that pace, I definitely think he's got the capability to take that lead from Sims.
Both drivers replicating each other's lines. That's often the best way to do it if there isn't dirty air, that is.
Yeah, obviously dirty air being the hole in the air punch through by the car in front, causing inconsistent flow of air over the car trailing behind, obviously being an advantage on the straight, acting as a slipstream, but being a disadvantage for that downforce during the corners.
Speaking of Dolphin Electric, both of their drivers now very close to each other, still in the points though, both cars, but still, it's very close between Sims and FF Devon. You cannot,
looking at that lead, it's a great battle. FF Devon 0.8 tenths behind according to the leaderboard at this stage. He's also got that fastest lap, so he's going to be raking in a little bit of bonus points.
Oh, FF Devon makes a mistake. That's going to cost him a lot of time, but it's certainly time that he can make back on the leader if the leader makes a similar mistake, but it's still a large mistake to be made when you're fighting for the lead of this race.
Yeah, really going to cost him, and those inconsistencies are going to be the things which are going to ruin his race. His pace is definitely there, but he just needs to maintain that. And you look now, 5.3 seconds separate him and Sims. Interestingly, the grid is much more stable compared to the sprint race with all the back markers and all the back marker collisions. Definitely is more of a luck during that race and who's able to get out of the way comparative to this one. More about that driver ability, driver skill, and who can keep that consistency in their ability as well.
So let's see if anything else is going on through the field. There's a good battle between the McLaren of Finale and the Pro Drive of Nicholas. Very close to these two drivers fighting for the P5 position in this race.
Yeah, great battle between the two. Trying to gain as many points as they can for that team.
Points are everything in a race like this, and you won't want to miss out on them. So getting the highest position you can consistently is the main aim of the drivers here.
Yeah, there is that McLaren team. First we've seen of them. Not much of a prominent result from them so far. I'm sure their driver now will be attempting to Finelli will be attempting to change that perspective, rake in as many points as he can, both for himself and that team collectively. Not quite sure where the teammate is.
I don't believe that Finelli participated in the sprint race, and his teammate TBG24 in P12. He is 15 seconds behind P11 and 25 behind the points. So it'll have to be a miracle in order for the second McLaren to be able to get points in this race.
Yeah, let's cast our eyes over to P9. And that's the Deepod electric racing car of Tinger's 10. He's just ahead of his teammate in P10, so both drivers getting points to the team. Not massive points, but it's still points nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly.
Nearly at the halfway
Points are
stage.
points to drivers.
Yeah, definitely. 16 laps gone so far. Make sure to let us know who you're supporting throughout this race. And how you think this street race has gone so far with the lack of collisions and down to driver ability.
Yes, we are reaching the halfway point of this race, but the lead nor any of the positions in this race seem to be secure, as the drivers might like to think they are.
Yeah, FF Devon there, going purple in Sector 3. So we'll see if he's able to improve on the gap between him and his driver ahead currently.
Super seems to be making the push to P3 at the moment.
Yeah, so we see cars now lapping back. Markers have been for a while, and we're not even halfway through the stage. It shows you the massive disparity in quality between the drivers. The largest gap now between Titanic and Sims being 125 seconds.
It's certainly one of the biggest gaps we've seen since the first season of Ion Formula 1. I think that's one of the beautiful things about i8. The entry level for i8 is so... Sorry, let me correct myself. The entry barrier is a lot lower for i8 than any other series, and that is why these drivers are here, because they can improve their skills while not having to really worry about the main pressures of being drivers in a larger or in a more competitive series, so they can improve their skills while still not having to push beyond their limit.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it's more of an entryway to new members of the community get themselves introduced to that racing side. Oh, as that's the pro driver of Nicholas, just quite not getting it right on one of the entry corners. Midway in sector 1, ends up hitting the wall, and that's going to cost him significant time as he falls behind that Red Bull Petronas driver.
That gives them a nice gap for Finelli to pass through, taking that P6 position from Nicholas, but I'm sure that Nicholas won't let it go as easily as he was forced to earlier.
Yeah, very unlucky for him, just quite not getting it right, as we're now in the halfway stage of this race, only halfway to go. FF Devon significantly decreasing that time to the leader ahead of Sims, currently 2.7 seconds.
Devon seems to be pushing a lot less than he was earlier on in this race. He seems a lot less rushed to get through this race, and he's taking it a lot slower, which is leading him to make less mistakes and hence catching Sims a lot quicker than he would have otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. Nicholas
FF
now,
Devon getting a lot closer.
he's on a green sector 2, and he is unable to improve his lap time, and decrease the gap to the car in front of him.
Very close between Sims and FF Devon. They're practically neck and neck at this point in the race. But FF Devon seems to have the slight pace advantage going across the first sector line, but the timing system doesn't seem to agree with us here. Neither driver giving each other any more parts of the racetrack than they need to.
Yeah, great battle between the two, from the left to right to left to right. So much strain on those tyres, it's ridiculous. Battling through that sector 2. Looks like FF Devon's made a few minor errors there, slightly slower than Sims through that sector. We'll see if he can catch up through this third sector, taking that apex beautifully as they come onto that home straight, getting the benefit of that slipstream into the run into turn 1, who will come out with a better exit. Looks like Sims as they flick back into that left-hander and then back into that right-hander for that short getaway onto the straight, back into the tight cornered section and back onto a straight. FF Devon appearing to be in the lead at this stage. Leaderboard is disagree with me. Oh, and there we see the update. 1/10 separating the two drivers as they go into that tight end of Sector 2 and soon to go into Sector 3. What a great battle we have on our hands. Only 23 laps into this race.
As much as we all wish for it, I'm sure that this battle cannot go on for 16 more laps. One of the drivers will want to make this end sooner.
Yeah, definitely going to be wearing down on them. As we see them getting that straight away again appearing that FF Devon is ahead. And now Sims getting the better exit through that corner. Oh, as Sims clips the wall. That is really not going to be good for him. Clips the wall, losing time massively as he falls back behind FF Devon. That's going to be quite a significant gap separating the two. Leaderboard is updating now, and it's saying 7/10 separate the two. That's really not going to be good for Sims. Although it appears he seems to have caught up already.
This is certainly one of the things where as soon as you make a mistake, that means that you are going to be a lot further behind your rival. You're going to be relying on your rival making a similar, if not worse, mistake to get back that time. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
FF
seem to be
Devon
like that
leading
anyway.
through there. That again, that tight twisty section is so difficult for those drivers. Still neck and neck.
These drivers battling it out for the lead. Both of them are being a lot more precise than they seem to be in the sprint race. The odds might be higher for these drivers
Yeah.
to win the race without having to worry about back markers. Still, back markers can be quite annoying, even in the non-collide series where you're trying to pass them, just getting in your way of the battle. You can't see as much as you would usually be able to.
Yeah, very significant. Still the two drivers battling it out. FF Devon 0.2 seconds behind Sims. they come around that section. Final corner to go onto that home straight. We'll see for the updated leaderboard who takes the lead. Leaderboard says Sims 0.1 seconds separate the two. FF Devon still with the fastest lap, still getting that bonus point.
Are my eyes deceiving me? Because it certainly seems that FF Devon is ahead of Sims. The Sims drifting into the roundabout section. That is a mighty good save by Sims.
Yeah, very good to reduce the time that he loses.
Oh, Devon makes a similar mistake and loses the lead to Sims. It seems as if FF Devon has got overconfident when he saw that his rival was dropping behind and made a mistake himself.
Yeah, that's going to cost him. Things appears to be still in the lead visually. We'll see what the update is when they cross out Sector 1.
And for once, the timing screen does agree with us. 1.3 seconds separating the two drivers now. There's a very tight spread now. Or, sorry, very wide spread between these drivers. Almost 200 seconds separate the entire field in this race. And that's only after 30 laps.
Yeah, still got 10 once we cross the line to go. So 1/4 will be left.
Sims falling back a lot further than he will have wanted to, making a lot more mistakes, pushing very hard to try and catch up to the leader, but it all seems to be in vain. Wait, is that Devon? Looked like he made a mistake,
Yeah,
but
not
it
quite
seems to
sure.
just be vision lag.
There's the updated leaderboard. And 3.7 seconds is what their leaderboard says, separating two. So FF Devon trying to stretch his legs, trying to get away from Sims behind him.
So it seems as if Devon is going a lot quicker than Sims, or Sims is just making too many mistakes trying to catch up to the Torrent driver.
Oh, very smooth through that corner. Looked like he nearly lost the rear. May have been a little bit of a vision lag for me. As he rounds that final corner, back onto that home straight. When he crosses the line, that'll be 31 laps down.
I'm sure Devon knows as much as most other drivers do. He just needs to keep it clean. I'm sure that some of these drivers will certainly be feeling the pressure of being in the positions they are. Could be quite new to being further up a leaderboard than they would be in, say, any other league that they may race in, or maybe they've never been in a position before, and they're feeling a lot less confident driving themselves around this tight street track.
Yeah, and it seems like the order is pretty, don't want to do the commentator's curse, but the order seems to be pretty static at this time. Nothing changing significantly.
So, Titanic is stuck on a curb. I'll try to work out where that is. It is the technically not the penultimate corner, but the corners that are technically the penultimate. You can't really call it corner. He is stuck there and he doesn't look like he's moving.
Now that is a shame, and that looks like it will be the end of his race. Unfortunate for the Tron team, as they're unable to get points. Well, regardless, since Titanic is out of that top 10, it's not able to get any points. Let's take a look to P6 now. of the McLaren driver of Fernelli, currently holding on to his position. Nicholas right behind him. The gap, according to the leaderboard, separating the two is less than a second.
It doesn't seem that way when you look at it, though. Nicholas making a lot of mistakes going into the roundabout there.
Yeah, and now the leaderboards update is saying around about 3 seconds.
So Sims catching up a little. The gap on the last lap was 4 seconds. He will start to decrease this gap. Never mind, he goes a second further away from Devon.
Yeah, and we now have 6 laps remaining of this race, down to 5 when FF Devon crosses that finish line. When he be 1/8 of the race left. Not much time if Sims wants to make a comeback for that lead. Our podium at this time, FF Devon in P1, Sims in P2, and Dark in P3.
Unfortunate for the Torrent, but not so much for the other Torrent at the front, who leads by a much larger margin now than he did 10 laps ago.
Yeah, major gaps. We've now got 5 laps left, as I mentioned before. And interestingly, it's such a large gap which separates that top 2. And although it's only 4 seconds between FF Devon and Sims, it's 38 seconds from the leader to the nearest and 3rd place. Such a big gap. Those front 2 really running away with this race.
Definitely, it resembles a lot. Oh, have we had a disconnect at the back of the field? Seems as if we've had a disconnect of Shale in the Pro Drive. Once again, Devon increasing his gap to Sims in the fleet behind him. The gap now 5.3 seconds. As we come on to our 37 lap.
Yeah, only 3 laps remaining. Really not long at all if Sims wants to take back the lead of this race. Things getting incredibly tense now. FF Devon currently taking the lead. He's got a massive, well, not a massive, he's got a significant lead, 6.85 seconds. As long as he can hold on to that, keep his consistency for these next 3 laps, he should be pretty safe for that win to take home some significant points both for himself and the team. Order saying pretty fixated. 38 currently on lap 38 as we go with FF Devon navigating his way through that sector 2 and into soon the entry of sector 3. Gap
So
currently set by leaderboard 7.2 seconds.
And our P3 is coming dangerously close to being lapped by FS Devon, who is in the lead at the moment.
There you can see how many laps each driver has completed. The lowest down being Robo. He has completed 33. So quite a large difference as we see FF Devon begin the start of his penultimate lap.
It's very clean by FF Devon, certainly taking no more risks than he needs to, just trundling along, making sure that he can secure this result.
Yeah, and still he's able to keep a faster pace. Oh, and that's a Dolphin electric racing car there in the wall. I believe that was Father Ewok. Very unfortunate for him. He's currently in P10, trying to hold on to those points. As we see FF Devon cross that line and begin the final lap of this race.
And as far as battles go, it's no closer between P4 and 5, Random Person and Superfist in the Innotech and Lolex respectively are both extremely close to each other. This is the final position that isn't the podium, but it's still a large quantity of points for these drivers.
Yeah, a very significant fight now, and a very well-timed place to do it as we are on the final lap as FF Devon comes down that home straight, ready to cross the finish line to take the win of the Diriyah feature race ePrix. What a great drive he has completed, and what a well-deserved win he has had. Brilliant performance from him.
Sims swerving across the line. I'm not sure how much that is celebration as much as it is rage, as Devon screams out of happiness, I believe. Oh my god, in the chat.
Great performance from him, and good battle between him and Sims. He is able to take in the end, but good driving from both of the two.
Yeah, both drivers should be impressed with their performances, creating a great battle between those two for a solid maybe 10 laps.
As we see him, I think he's attempting to drive his car over to equivalent Park Ferme. Set his car up in that podium position.
These drivers should be impressed with their results.
Yeah, very interesting feature race in the end. Quite, very close contention between the two. As we are just waiting for the drivers to get us on the podium as we take a look around this beautiful track. And let's look at that podium now. Nice and empty, but the drivers will be stepping out soon. And I can see what looks to be a Tron shirt there on the door to the entrance to that podium platform. As we wait for them to come out, obviously the three drivers and a winning team representative will come out. And Project, who would you say, in your opinion, was the driver of your day, the driver of the two races for you?
Well, despite the downfall he had in the sprint race, he certainly brought it back to win in the feature race, of course. FF Devon, great performance by him today.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you on that one. Really good performance from him. Closely followed by Sims. He had a great drive as well, raking in great points for his team. And I think we're going to be set up, much like an F2, with a great championship fight this season.
Yep, certainly a championship fight that I cannot wait to see play out between these two drivers.
Yeah. And there is the third driver coming on. That is Dark, taking his position on the third podium. Out comes the second place. Oh, not quite. And first place at the same time. There comes Simstoman and FF Devon to take their place, and the representative for the team standing, the Turan representative for the team standing on the side of that podium. So that wraps up our order.
And Fleet feels needs this a podium for their driver. Seems to be a team podium. I'm not sure what their reasoning is, but they certainly believe it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure of how it works there. So let's just take a look at that final finishing standard then. FF Devon was able to take the lead in the feature race, followed closely by Sims and Dark. Rand, Finelli and the Super Fist finishing off for that top 6 of the feature race, all bringing in significant points to their team. Obviously Finelli being the leader of the McLaren team, and Super Fist bringing significant points for that Lolix team. So let us know in the chat who you wanted to win. Did they win? Were you happy with their performance at all? And without any further ado, I think we will leave it there, Project. Make sure to catch us now on the Formula E stream as that gets away with the qualifying and the race for that. So that one will be interesting. Make sure to catch that. And you'll also be able to see us next weekend where we go back to Block A. Formula 1 will be taking place. Make sure to catch us in Formula 2 where me and Project will be commentating as well. And GT3 on the Sunday.
Do not miss it. And you certainly won't want to miss it if you saw last week's F2 race and, well, technically last week's F1 race.
Yeah. And we will see you for the Formula E